Hello and welcome to World of Tanks with Trapsikis. We're having a look at one of my friends, Tracer Steel. We used to be in the same clan, but we've both shifted to different directions. And he's playing the top tier Batchat. Immediately before the match even gets started, you notice he asks his artillery to focus on the enemy Batchats. In 357 matchmaking, if your enemy has two top tier medium tanks with dangerous guns and not a lot of armor, that's the obvious thing to do, but sometimes RT needs to be reminded of the obvious thing. So without being rude, it's a good idea, especially if you're top tier, to just throw one comment like that, maybe get the artillery pointing at them. Alright, this game I would like to speak about attitude. So the comment Tracer gives us there, now we got this. You see a lot of people saying, oh, this is rigged, or this is bad, or what. Tracer gives you, we got this. He encourages the team, we can do it. Okay, keep that in mind. We'll see more of different kinds of conversations going on. All right, so a nice little spot to spot from for himself and the BC25T. However, personally, I prefer having a bit more distance. If artillery were to aim at one of you guys, the other one will get hit too. So try to avoid standing very close to someone else if you're both trying to spot. Alright, so immediately after spotted, Tracer falls back, but he keeps spotting damage on the enemy Batchat, which is great. With the lower hit points, he might not be able to do as brave moves as he would have liked to, which limits your options. Alright, so Tracer, he's got 3 remaining in the magazine, but he's making sure that he's not spotted and taking his time to make sure he knows what's going on. So Scorp G spotted there across the way, and the Scorp G's distance is about 440 meters, so if Tracer Steel spots him at that distance, you know he's got a very decent crew. Alright, so a third shot taken, a third shot missed, and now Tracer's only got the 2 shells remaining in the magazine. And you'll notice a lot of very clever reload timing from Tracer. He's obviously played the Batchat a couple of times. Because your reload for the entire magazine is so long, you need to choose carefully, and there initiates and he notifies his team. So the 3 or 4 tanks standing around him won't rely on his gun because they know that he's reloading for over half a minute. So he's reversed into the bush, which is usually a good idea with a Batchat because you don't have any armor anyway. It's pointless to try to side scrape. Get yourself in a position where you can quickly move out and avoid incoming fire rather than trying to side scrape and ride the shots. Alright. So once again, asking artillery to assist. The Batchats aren't spotted, so RT please focus D54. And now Tracer makes a move here that is a skill that I haven't mastered yet. This flank is not lost. The opposite flank is. So how do you decide? Do you reinforce this flank and push where you've got the advantage, or do you fall back and assist your team where they've already fallen? Now Tracer does the wise thing here and falls back to assist the team. However, it's a bit difficult to get a shot on the M41 there, and he keeps trying and actually wastes a bit of time doing it, but let's not judge. Alright, so Charioteer is taken out, but now the enemy is up 3 tanks, and in a couple of seconds the scores are leveled. So because the team turned their attention to the advancing north, they were able to eliminate a couple of tanks that were already on low health, as well as the Charioteer that was still full health recently, and suddenly it's not looking quite so bad. And this is a very good area for a gun with good gun depression, good view range, and a very decent gun. You can run up and down here, use the terrain, have cover, and like you'll see now, not necessarily even get spotted. So this Emil, thinking he's using the ridge very well, is just simply being outclassed by Tracer. Right, and our friendly T28 also takes up the T54 Mod 1, which was already on low health, and the scores are suddenly looking a bit better. You'll notice in chat the ISU 152 venting. Yeah, bad idea. You're not helping anyone. You're not convincing anyone you're clever or anything. So that's why the rule is there. In chat, you provide battle information. You help your team to win. If you're whining like a little loser, you're not helping anyone. Sorry, ISU, that's not the way it's done. Right, so Tracer's reloaded, and he doesn't quite have a line on either of these Ts, but now you'll notice, even though he's got a line on the T95, he's not taking the shot, simply because it's a very thin shot and it's not going to penetrate. If you hit the front of a T95 at this distance, probably not going to penetrate. But if he gives you his side, that's a different story. And of course, after waiting patiently for a clean shot, he still doesn't penetrate. Right, a couple of shots penetrating. And now, unfortunately, that one doesn't take out the tracks, and the prototype hides behind the building again. Right, now this 30 on 295, however, Tracer doesn't have any shells left in the magazine. So, of course, he asks the friendly BC12 not to die. You'll see that in chat just now, which prompts him to rush up to the 30 and get killed. Right, so light tank rushing up to a well-armored TD. Try to get your team to support. Give the vision. Don't try to be the gun. Be the eyes. This one's quite tricky. The front of the T28 prototype is very well armored. If you hit him at the right spot, you'll penetrate. But to use 3 shells to do it puts you in a difficult situation. You've got 5 shells left, APCR, and 10 heat. At which point are you going to switch to heat? And at what point are you going to use your APCR? Bearing in mind, your APCR shells has nearly 1,500 feet per second shell velocity, whereas the heat only has 800. Makes quite a big difference. So, sorry, that's meters per second, not feet per second. But you get the point. The shell velocity of the APCR is nearly twice that of the heat shells. So when engaging a long range, obviously the APCR is better, but when you're engaging well-armored enemies, you need the heat. Alright, so quite lucky there, the T92 only did 100 and such damage to him. But now, you might be getting into one of those awkward reload situations. Do you switch to heat and leave the 2 APCRs for a full reload for only 2 shells? Do you use your 2 APCRs and only have 2 shells available in your magazine? And unfortunately, one of the enemy batchats shows himself, and Tracer is able to eliminate him. For a second there, 1 versus 3. 2 enemy batchats and the artillery versus Tracer. But Tracer is on higher health. The remaining batchat on 410, which is just 1 high roll. But the T92, because he's not spotted, you can safely assume he's still at full health. So that'll take 2 shots. So wisely, again, Tracer is reloading a full magazine, even though it's heat. Loading a full magazine so that he can eliminate the artillery and then turn his attention back to the enemy batchat. So once again, clever use of time there. He's doing the 40-second reload or 38-second reload, and in that time he travels across the map. So to allow the enemy batchat time to look through the bushes where he might be hiding, and then provide himself with the opportunity to find the artillery. Now you'll see something interesting. Obviously, Tracer's already proven that he's got a very good crew with a very good view range, and one can assume very good camo rating. He spots the enemy T92 HMC at 303 meters, takes a shot, and gets spotted. Now, do you know whether or not the T92 was the one spotting you? Was it the enemy batchat that's in the bushes to your left, or did the artillery spot you? How do you tell the difference? Well, you wait for the enemy batcher to start capping. Right, so he very kindly tells us exactly where he is, and Tracer knows that he can safely reload a full magazine and approach the enemy before he can cap out, because the batcher is quite fast. So, down to heat shells. The enemy batcher is on 410. If you penetrate with a heat shell, a high roll will kill him, otherwise you're going to need 2 shots. The enemy also 390 average damage, which means you will need 4 shots or 3 very good high rolls to penetrate. So Tracer obviously having the advantage here, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. Right, so Tracer spotted and shot before he's managed to spot the enemy. So now he's down to 2 high rolls or 3 normal shots for the enemy, and the enemy is likely 2 shots as well. So the situation is not quite that good anymore. Right, so now you need to use the terrain and relocate to get in a position to spot your enemy without him spotting you back. Right, so 1 shot landed. Of course it was a low roll, and Tracer only needs 1 more shot to shut down the enemy, but he's using heat. There's a couple of fences around that building where the enemy batchat is hiding, and heat shells will probably explode against them, which means you won't penetrate and hit your enemy. So you need to be very careful in a situation like this, where you've got an enemy hiding behind a building and there's a fence around the building, or even a soft building which you could shoot through, but if you're using heat or HE shells, then they won't actually penetrate and won't damage your enemy. So be aware of the terrain, be aware of which buildings can be shot and which can't, and be aware of which shells you've got loaded. Alright, so the enemy batchat there notices Tracer taking the shot, returns fire twice. Now they're both 1 shots, evening out the field. This makes it very tricky. Bearing in mind, you don't know whether he's reloading or not. He just fired 2 shells. He's fired 1 earlier. You don't know if he's got 2 shells left in the magazine, or he's reloading for 38 seconds. If you wonder about it for 38 seconds, he's definitely going to be reloaded. The fact that you spotted him there and he didn't spot you, and now he's not shooting back, probably means he's on a reload. And now that we know that, you can secure the kill. Very well done, Tracer. It was a lot of fun to watch this one. And thank you for displaying the very good attitude in chat. Instead of moaning about what you feel is an unfair match, you encouraged your team and pushed them and then carried them to victory. Congratulations. Let's have a look at the post-game plates. Only a 2nd class mastery, even though it's a top gun and high caliber. It's because a lot of the enemies were lower tiers, so you don't get the experience bonus that you would get if you're playing the low tiers and killing the higher. The team details, you'll see that Tracer managed to do more than twice the damage of the 2nd guy in his team. However, the batchats in the enemy team both did very well, nearly 5,000 damage each. So they did very well, but Tracer, unfortunately for them, just managed to outplay them. On the personal details, yeah, he emptied most of his heat ammunition because he was starting to run out of ammunition, so the resupply cost is over 50,000 credits. But still, despite that, because he's running a premium account, he didn't make a big loss, only 5,000. And with the 2 times experience bonus, he managed to rake in over 3,000. Base XP 1041. Surprising to me that it's a 2nd class. I would have expected a 1st class, but obviously a lot of people have been doing well with the batchat. Thank you for watching. Once again, congratulations, Tracer, and catch you next time.